News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. The U.S. may be looking at new ways to ramp up the trade war with Canada. During an interview with the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer suggested the U.S. ban some Canadian goods. Bloomberg Washington correspondent Tyler Kendall.
We didn't get much info beyond that, though. Of course, that would mark a significant escalation. The context that we have to keep in mind here is that the White House's own view at this point is that their latest wave of tariffs are tied to the fact that, in part, some Canadian provinces have already banned the sale of certain U.S. alcohol. So they already sort of feel like this trade tension is continuing.
Bloomberg's Tyler Kendall says U.S. Trade Representative Greer indicated that talks between the U.S. and Canada are suspended, at least for now. A blowout revenue forecast from Nvidia put stocks in rally mode, led by tech shares. Nvidia says revenue will grow about 70% next fiscal year, outstripping analyst estimates for a 45% jump. Bloomberg Intelligence Global Head of Tech Research Mandeep Singh says it's not going to stop there.
I'm looking at 2028 and 2029 in terms of, what kind of growth rates they will have over there. But there's no doubt that demand is taking off for them, even at the, the size they are at right now. And this is just phenomenal.
Nvidia's upbeat outlook offered relief to investors concerned about a bubble in the AI economy. Nvidia shares more than 7% higher. Salesforce shares jumped after the software company gave an outlook for strong revenue expansion and deepened its partnership with Anthropic. The company expects revenue to accelerate in the second half of the year, and its AI tool, Agentforce, is on track to contribute about $1.5 billion in revenue this year. Shares of Salesforce now 19% higher, and that tech rally is moving markets higher. We do check markets for you all day long here at Bloomberg. The S&P 500 up 0.6%, NASDAQ up 1.25%, the Dow up 0.3%, the 10-year Treasury yield at 4.65%, the 2-year yield at 4.21%, and the 30-year Treasury yield at 5.17%. The Philadelphia Semiconductor Index is more than 1% higher, led by Nvidia. Kansas City Fed President Jeffrey Schmidt says monetary policy may be accommodative rather than restrictive, citing underlying demand pressures that could justify a rate hike as soon as September 16th.
The last Q3, Q4 data for me last year was, I thought we certainly weren't restrictive and maybe even a little accommodative. So we've got work to do.
Speaking to Bloomberg's Michael McKee at the sidelines of the Jackson Hole Economic Symposium, Schmidt rejected the idea that the October 28th meeting is off the table because of the presidential election. He maintains political considerations do not affect FOMC decisions. Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsbee says while policymakers must keep watch on whether tariff and other price shocks will prove persistent, the latest set of data suggests the situation isn't, quote, terrible. Goolsbee told the Rapid Response podcast that wars, tariffs, and other things are driving inflation higher, and they have to figure out if these are persistent inflation shocks. And Cleveland Fed President Beth Hammack reiterated that now is the time for officials to act to contain inflation, adding that interest rates are not slowing the economy enough for price pressures to cool on their own, telling CNBC that the longer inflation is above target, the harder it will be to bring down. The U.S. military is experiencing a beyond critical shortage of advanced missile interceptors in Europe, largely driven by President Trump's war with Iran. The shortage of Patriot missile interceptors is most concerning, as they can shoot down Russia's high-speed ballistic missiles, and NATO could be vulnerable to a potential Russian attack. A flash flood in a Nepalese valley near the Chinese border killed at least 359 people and left more than 1,400 missing, including hundreds of foreign tourists. Leslie Crespi is with the Isha Foundation. It's a volunteer group.
The phones have been, ringing off the hook. I was with one of the families earlier today to support them in any way that we can right now.
The flood was triggered by the collapse of a glacier in the Himalayan region, causing a seismic event that sent water, ice, rock, and debris downstream, with the flood wave reaching as high as 9 meters in just half an hour. Jurors in the Lindsey Clancy murder trial in Plymouth, Massachusetts are hearing closing arguments. They are tasked with deciding whether the former labor and delivery nurse is criminally responsible for killing her 3 children in 2023. Both sides agree she did kill her children, but Clancy's defense team argues that she suffered from postpartum psychosis. A Republican push to prosecute Dr. Anthony Fauci for contempt of Congress has reportedly stalled. The Wall Street Journal reports the Trump administration is questioning whether the legal approach supports an indictment by the Justice Department. Fauci invoked the Fifth Amendment more than 100 times in a Senate hearing this month about his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Europe's soccer body is preparing a criminal complaint against FIFA president Gianni Infantino for possible financial mismanagement. UEFA says it has also filed documents in a Manhattan court requesting documents from Josh Kushner's Thrive Capital Management. Infantino dropped the sell-off plan after a furious backlash by global soccer leaders, including UEFA. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris, and this is Bloomberg.